Hello, welcome. In this updated version of the chainsaw chain knot video, I'm going to show you step by step how to remove a few very frustrating chainsaw chain knots. Welcome to the Repair Specialist channel, because knowledge is power. So let's get to it. Okay, so you've got your chain in this state, and when you try to pull it out, put it on the machine, you find you've got knots. We've got one there and we've got one there. We'll start with this because this is the simplest type of knot to free. So we'll move the chain out like this into a kind of a circle so we can see the whole chain. And what we notice here is that the knots are on the outside of the chain. So if there's two knots like this on the outside of the chain, then this is the easiest one to remedy. Because if we notice with the knots, we can see that the chain rolls over like this over the top. So you've got a chain at the bottom there and it rolls over the top. Now the part that rolls over the top, we simply pull back like this on both sides. Simply pull back and over. And that's that simple knot sorted. On this one, this is slightly more complex than the first one. We've got a knot facing outwards and a knot facing inwards. And what we must always do is only ever deal with the knot facing outwards. We'll leave the inwards one, that will sort itself out. So let's deal with the outward facing knot. Okay, so let's have a look. The outward facing knot, we can see it's coming under the chain there and rolling over the top. So the part that's rolling over the top, we take in our hands and we just need to pull it right over the chain with the inside knot as well. Pull it right over the chain, and that gets rid of the inside knot. Now we're left with two outside knots, and as we only deal with outside knots, this is simple enough. I'll turn it round. Okay, we take the two knots in our hand, making sure first that they're a mirror image of each other and that they roll over towards each other over the tops of the chain. Take the chain knots in our hands, the chain at the bottom that's touching the bench there, we pull that through and the knot is gone. If we had the outside knots where the chain is rolling over the top here, and when we pick it up, the small part of the chain's at the bottom, it's still easy enough. We just need to pull the top chain this time over the bottom chain, simple enough, because it's the same sort of thing, and the knot is gone. So even if we're dealing with something that looks quite complex like this, we've got a little figure eight going on there. It's not just the average outside knot, we've got an inside knot and we've got a normal outside knot. Okay, what do we do? Well, remember, we never deal with the inside knots, they deal with themselves. We always deal with the outside knots. No matter how complex this looks here, we're dealing with outside knots. So we'll turn these two round to make it a little clearer what we're doing. Now, if we look here, we've always got to find where the chain is rolling over the other chain, or rolling underneath it, but in this case rolling over the other chain. So even though there's a figure eight going on here, we can see this. So all we need to do is, when we see that, is pull back on it. Okay, pull it over the top of the bottom chain and pull the inside knot with it. Okay, that will lessen its complexity. Okay, so look at what we've got now. What have we left with? We're left with two outside knots. And being as we only deal with outside knots, we take the two outside knots, making sure that they're a mirror image of each other, pick them up, and we can see that we've got this chain on top here above the bottom chain, and we just pull that over the top. the knot is gone. So what about this one then? We've got 2 inside knots and 2 outside facing knots. Well, as we know by now, we do not touch the inside facing knots. They sort themselves. So we go to the outside facing knots here. Okay, we can see that they're a mirror image of each other. The chain rolls over the bottom chain like that. So we just take the 2 outside knots in our hand and we pull back on the top of the chain and pull that over like that. That's all we've done. We've just gone from there to there with it. Okay, now we're left with 2 outside facing knots, which is just what we want. So we'll turn it round to make it easier. There we go, the 2 outside facing knots. They're rolling over like this, over the bottom chain, and we simply take it in our hands, each knot, and we pull the bottom chain under and the knots are gone. Okay, so we've got one here that's even more complex. We've got 3 knots facing the outside of the circle and 1 knot facing inwards to the inside of the circle. But as before, all we need to do is to work on the knots on the outside first, and then we can work on the rest. So we need to find the 2 outside knots that are a mirror image of each other. Remember how they roll out like this? If we look at these 2 here, these aren't a mirror image of each other. They're going in the same direction. We want them to go like that. So we'll have a look if these 2 outside ones, we'll check this one and this one. So when we turn it round, we can see that these 2 are in fact a mirror image of each other. So all we need to do is deal with them first. So as before, we take the chain and pull it back over. This has got the knot in it, just pull it back with it, it's fine. Pull it back over the top. And then we get to this stage. So now we've got rid of 2 knots already. Okay, so now we're left with a knot facing the outside and a knot facing the inside of this circle. As always, what we need to do is always deal with the outside knot. So we take the outside knot and we can see the chain rolls over the top there. So we take that and pull it back. And we just pull this knot, the inside knot, back with it. And now we've got rid of the inside knot, and that's what we needed. So now we've got the knots facing outwards, which is exactly what we want, and we'll just check that they're a mirror image of each other. So we can see they roll outwards and over the top, both of them. Now all we need to do is take them in our hands, one in each hand, pull the one that's hanging down the bottom through like this. And that is the knot gone.